Welcome to the Inner Chief podcast and this special Minisode where we do a Your Questions Answered. So I'm going to jump into a very quick question which we got through LinkedIn. The question comes from Ben Flintoff, who's the Chief Operating Officer at QTM Energy and also the former head of Baskin and Robbins in Australia. So here's what Ben asks. He says, Greg, it's often mentioned that we overestimate what we can achieve in a year and underestimate what we can achieve in 10 years. Pretty sure that was a Bill Gates quote from back in the day. Have you ever looked back on one particular year and thought, nailed it? And what were you doing differently? I assume you've been doing that ever since too. And if not, why not? So Ben, great question. I want to share with you three examples of things that I added in to my life or my work in particular that led to significant increases in performance. And they were the years 2010, 2014, and 2019, if I can think about the year in particular. The first example, 2010, I started doing vision boards in about 2006 or 7. And they were just rudimentary cracks. Those of you who've seen the vision boards we do now and the visioning statements that go with it, probably a couple of levels of sophistication above what we did 15 years ago. So what happened was I did an annual visioning process with myself. I just go to the mountains outside of the city that I lived in, and I'd do it back then on my own. I would do a visioning process. I would revisit it again a year later. And then again a year later, and just see how many things I ticked off in that year. And I suppose I sort of lost a bit of focus. So to answer your question, Ben, 2010 was a great year for me. I did a lot of things, got a lot done. And I think the key was, and this was the reason why in hindsight, I added in a quarterly check-in to the visioning process. So I went from one review per year or one visioning and check-in per year to 4. And what that meant was, and this is the natural process we all go through as individuals and teams and organizations, is we set a bit of a vision and a goal, and then we don't revisit it for a year. Within 3 months, you're already starting to drift off course. It just happens with the chaos of life and business and priorities. Now, after 6 months, you're halfway gone, and often by the time 10, 11 months come around, you're almost already dreading the annual review because you know you're so far away from it. So what I added in was just quarterly check-ins for 2 to 3 hours, just to go back and check in on the annual plan. And guess what? I really nailed a lot of the things that were achievable in that 12-month period. The second thing that I got at 2014, now in 2014, I added in, I think for me, what was interesting, just before I talk about this is, I think I struggled for quite a long time to work out how to be really productive for my kind of energy. In 2014, I decided I would do something where I got up really early and go to work. So I'd often be at a desk at 5:30, 5:45, and try and do 2 hours of power, so to speak. That was game changing for me. When I look back at the end of that year, I did an enormous amount of quality work between 6 and 8 a.m. And to this day, that is something I continue to do. I found that in that morning period for me, and everybody's different. Some people are morning, some people are night. Whatever it is for you, you've got to find it. How are you going to be just incredibly productive? For me, that's first thing in the morning before there's any distractions, before the world gets going. I'll often come home at 8 o'clock, 7:45 in the morning, have breakfast with the kids and take them to school. I've already done 2 hours of power when that happens. And I'm just way in front of the game. So I've been doing that as much as possible ever since. I'm in a bit of a chapter now where I can't because of kids robbing us of sleep, and I can feel that that's affecting my productivity. I can't wait to get back in that rhythm more regularly because when I do it on a particular day, life is great. So that's the second one. The third change where I think that made a big difference was 2019. And I've been reading a book, I'm pretty sure it was 2019. And it was a book called The Road Less Stupid. And it spoke a lot about having structured thinking time. Now, I would regularly go away and do my quarterlies and also the morning focus sessions or the morning work sessions. what this book, I'm pretty sure the author is Richard Cunningham, what Richard spoke about was turning those sessions into really high quality, focused problem solving sessions, identifying the blocks. You're looking at your assumptions, the way you solve a problem using risk, a whole range of frameworks, so that as you make decisions throughout a day, you're challenging your bias, you're challenging the things that you're not seeing, and you're doing a better and better job of making very smart, wise, structured, risk-considered decisions. So when I started doing that, on top of the quarterly in the morning, I became even better yet again. And I'm still doing those sessions. And I really feel like now, like I'm just on top of my game in a lot of those areas now, folks. Good quality thinking, getting the work done over time. So those are three big things that have changed for me. I do just want to go back, Ben, and just say, comment on that initial quote. People overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10. And I really, really sincerely agree with that. I think the trick is so in particular, if I look at our body of work over the last 10 years, several hundred podcasts, hundreds and hundreds of emails and newsletters, working all over the world, like we've just done an enormous amount. Plus we've had a family, renovated, moved cities, a whole range of things. We've been able to build that body of work and that legacy because we've been focused for a sustained period of time, and we keep doing the hard work on the things that need to be done. And what's happening now is those efforts, which have been sustained for a long period of time, are now compounding, and we're getting some better and better and better results. So I hope that helps. I hope that answers your question, Ben. I'd love to hear from you and what you did at the end of the year you felt like you really nailed. And if you've got something like that, put it in the comments on the post. All right, Chief, that sums up for this week in Your Questions Answered. Look forward to seeing you next time.